Good morning. It is Sunday, December the 25th of 2022, the last Sunday of the year. I hope you take some time to think back over this year and remember the good times, learn from the mistakes that we've made, and strive to do better next year serving our good Lord. Well, about 55, 58 years ago, my family, which consisted of my mom and dad and us five children, and then one of my aunts and her son, so there were nine of us, we were on vacation together in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And while we were there, we went through and toured the Hershey Chocolate Factory, which was wonderful because at the end they gave you samples. I don't know whose idea it was, but somebody decided that we should all dress alike. And so everybody, the men and the women, all had on blue and white checked shirts. And I think the women and the girls wore solid navy blue skirts, and the men and the boys all had on solid blue pants. And naturally, us children were somewhat mortified because we were all dressed alike. But anyway, so we're going through the factory, and somehow the group got split into two. I can't remember what happened, but anyway, we got split into two different groups, separated, and I was in the group that was behind, and we were walking through the factory again, trying to catch up with the rest of the group. When all of a sudden I heard somebody say, "Look, there's more of them." And other people kind of snickered and laughed, and I can remember just being embarrassed. And so we tried to walk even faster and catch up with the group. And I'm sure we've all had experiences of being with one or two other people or a larger group and maybe embarrassed to be with them, maybe ashamed about some of the behavior that maybe some of the other members of the group were doing. Maybe they were acting up and we were embarrassed. I'm sure all of us know what that's like. Well, a long, 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 long time ago, when Ahaz, a fellow by the name of Ahaz, was king of Judah, he was in trouble because the Syrians were mounting an invasion of his territory, of his kingdom. And God sends Isaiah the prophet to him. And Ahaz and his advisors are, as the scriptures say, are shaking. They're scared. And Isaiah comes to them and tells them, basically, don't worry about it. It's not going to amount to anything. And he tells Ahaz, ask God for a sign if you want to, that what I'm telling you is true. And Ahaz doesn't. He says, I'm not going to ask God for a sign. I'm not going to put God to the test. And Isaiah says, basically, okay, well, God's going to give you a sign anyway. And the sign that he gives Ahaz is that, behold, the virgin will conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. And then he tells him some more things. Well, hundreds and hundreds of years later, Matthew, in his gospel, tells us that when Joseph realizes that but the woman that he is betrothed to, this young virgin named Mary, when he realizes that she's pregnant and he knows he's not the father, that an angel appears to Joseph. And he says to Joseph, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. And she's going to bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. And then Matthew explains that this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. That's what Isaiah told Ahaz hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before. And now this is what the angel is telling Joseph. And then Matthew explains what Emmanuel means. And it means God with us. And I don't know about you, but when I think about that, I have a hard time wrapping my head around that God's going to come dwell with mankind. And the Apostle John tells us in his book, Revelation, in chapter 21 and verse 3, he says, "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away." And I can still remember to this day, some over 55 years later, when that individual says, "Look, there's more of them." That's what going through that factory. I was just mortified. I was embarrassed. But God's not going to be embarrassed to be seen with us. Matter of fact, not only is he not going to be embarrassed to be seen with us, he's going to come dwell with us. And I can't imagine that. And I can't wait. And it's the birth of Jesus that we celebrate today. And that we should celebrate every day. And that we should just be in awe of the fact that God came to dwell with us. The holidays are tough for a lot of people. This year, it seems like there's a whole lot of sickness more than usual going around. And some of our family members are sick. We were supposed to get together yesterday with my mother in Lexington, Kentucky, and there was so much sickness in the family, coupled with this storm that's supposed to be coming in. We just couldn't do it. And so there are families that are hurting. They are hurting because of sickness. They've have had loved ones pass away recently. They they don't have enough money to pay their bills. But in spite of all of the trials and the tribulations that many people are facing, we can take comfort and find peace in the fact that God loved us enough to come dwell with us. So I hope you have a Merry Christmas. But rest assured and take hope and comfort in the fact that God is with us. Well, I pray that you'll have a great day.